Colorado. I'll be your moderator for today's webinar, and I have a few housekeeping items to go over before we get started. First, we will be recording this webinar, and it will be available beginning tomorrow morning on the LiveWell Colorado website. To access the recording, simply visit livewellcolorado.org, click on the LiveWell's Commitment tab, click on Research and Publications, and select Webinars. Also, we will have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of this webinar. I encourage you to submit any questions that you may have. Simply enter them into your Questions tab on your on-screen control panel, and we'll have an opportunity to answer those at the end of the webinar. And LiveWell Colorado is so excited to partner with Hunger Free Colorado, and Victoria Tresky is going to talk on how federal nutrition programs can help kids access meals after school and during the summer. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Victoria.
Great. Thanks so much, Kate. We're really excited about this today. And thank you for those who are participating, whether you're a parent or a teacher or just an active community member who wants to learn more about these programs. We really appreciate you participating and help us spread the word. So a little bit about Hunger Free Colorado. We were founded in order to, like our name says, end hunger in the state of Colorado. So one of the ways that we find to be the most effective in doing that is to really increase awareness and participation in federal nutrition programs. And federal nutrition programs can span from SNAP, the Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as food stamps, to some of the programs that we'll be talking about today, which are more focused on children. So the purpose of the webinar today is to lend awareness to community leaders across Colorado regarding available federal nutrition programs. And Hunger Free Colorado has been working with state and federal agencies for the past several years to build advocacy around available community programs. So through our efforts with partners such as food banks, schools, boys and girls clubs, and partnerships with organizations such as LiveWell, the number of kids accessing meals through these federal nutrition programs has grown astronomically. We'll be providing a general overview of two programs today for about 15 minutes, and then, as Kate said, there will be time for questions and discussions following the presentation. So if you can hold all of the questions for the end of the call, or actually, since you'll be typing them in, you can type those in throughout the call. But we'll hopefully be able to answer those and have a discussion after the initial presentation. We can go to the next slide. This is a great picture of kids from a local Parks and Recreation site in Northwest Denver. And the Parks and Rec site, or the Parks and Rec staff at this particular site, serve dinner to kids every day, Monday through Friday, as part of their after-school program. So as you can see from the picture, the program is available to young kids as well as teenagers. We've got the little girl over here. We've got the little kid getting some milk, and then the older kids usually are playing basketball, and then they'll come in after the younger kids. But it's really available to kids of all ages up to the age of 18. And we actually had a huge launch at this particular site, and we're advertising the availability of free meals and snacks at this after-school program. And we partnered with nearby schools and community centers to get flyers out to parents and to really access those parents and kids as they came into the community center to make them aware that this after-school dinner program was available at the rec center. And we did see an increase in the number of kids coming into the program through that outreach. If you can go to the next slide. So the USDA Food Nutrition Services Department has two major reimbursement programs for out-of-school time. And out-of-school time is really just like it sounds. It constitutes any time that kids are not in school. So that includes before and after school programming and any time during the summer. And there's a priority on these times because this can be when low-income kids face issues getting proper nutrition. Parents may work long hours and be unable to provide snacks or suppers after school, or the snacks or suppers they're able to serve after school may not be the healthiest that they would like to be serving their kids. And the same goes for summer. During the summer, kids who are able to access free or reduced price breakfast and lunch just don't have that option during the summer because they're not at school. So those kids may not know where to go to be able to access meals. And these programs are intended to cover those gaps in services and to ensure that kids in low-income homes are able to get the nutrition that they need. The two programs we'll be focusing on today are the Child and Adult Care Food Program, also known as CACFP, and the Summer Food Service Program, or SFSP. Those two names, as you can hear, are kind of a mouthful, so I'll be trying to use CACFP and SFSP as much as possible, so hopefully you won't be too confused by that. And children under the age of 18 are eligible to eat at qualifying programs, which are sites that are located in areas where 50% or above of kids are eligible for a free and reduced price lunch, which we typically use as an indicator of the greatest need. And if you are kind of wondering where that information comes from or where you would be able to even access that information, you get it from the schools. So in the beginning of the year, parents will fill out a free and reduced price lunch application, and then the schools keep that on file and they use that for the kids to see who's eligible for free and reduced price lunch during the year to hopefully reduce the stigma for the kids throughout the year so they don't have to fill that data more than once, and so the school knows who those kids are. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to give a brief overview of some of the terms that you'll be hearing through the webinar today, and we'll just go into limited detail about them. So a site is where a program is actually being held. So if a Boys and Girls Club had an after-school or summer program where they get reimbursed for meals served, the program and location would be known as a site. So example of a site would be a Boys and Girls Club or an individual school such as Centennial Elementary or a specific park. So those are what is known as sites. A sponsor is an overarching term used to describe an entity that is fiscally responsible for the site. So they are the ones that actually go through the application process with the two state agencies that administer these programs. So they have to provide that they can be fiscally responsible for being reimbursed for these programs. They have to make sure that those sites comply with the regulations, the USDA regulations, and they do much of the administrative work. So a sponsor can be a nonprofit or a municipal agent, so it could be a city program such as the Parks and Rec, or it could be a nonprofit such as a YMCA or a church or a Boys and Girls Club, as I mentioned. So it really is a community, an organization that's based out of the community. For CACFP, sponsors can be affiliated or unaffiliated, but we won't go into that much detail about that. And if you have any questions about that, we can discuss it later. Examples of sponsors can be food and nutrition services out of schools, food banks, and even sites can be their own sponsors. So for an example, Aurora Public Schools Food and Nutrition Services is a sponsor for their schools, which have individual programs and which are called sites. So the Food and Nutrition Services for Aurora Public Schools is the sponsor, and an individual school would be a site that serves the meals. Large food banks such as Food Bank of the Rockies, Care and Share are sponsors for smaller sites such as churches, libraries, and community sites. And as I said, they do a lot of the paperwork, make sure that the sites are running the nutrition program properly so that they don't get the program taken away, and just generally make sure that the program runs smoothly. And lastly, a food vendor is where the food or meals come from. So this could be a school, a restaurant, a food bank, or even a commercial vendor such as Revolution Foods. So there's lots of ways that you can get the food prepared. Due to health inspections, health and safety requirements, it's a little tougher for a community site to make those lunches or make those meals on site unless they have a health inspection. So a lot of smaller programs will work with a vendor like Revolution Foods or even work with their closest school to get that food prepared and vended to the site so they don't have to worry about food preparation and everything that comes along with that. It gets a little tricky, but we just work with sites to see what fits best for them. Next slide. So CACFP at-risk after school is what we'll be going over now. And CACFP is actually a really large and complex program which reimburses family daycare homes, child care centers, adult daycare centers, as well as these after-school programs. But today we're just going to focus on the at-risk after-school portion of the program. So at-risk after-school sites qualify using free and reduced price lunch data, and they must have an enrichment program that is available for kids. So in Colorado, CACFP is administered through the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And as I mentioned, this program reimburses snacks and meals served at qualifying after-school programs. So this benefits kids who stay late after school or who go to an enrichment program at the YMCA or at a Boys and Girls Club or just at their school. And if kids don't have the financial means to bring snacks with them and are staying pretty late at these after-school programs, 5, 6, maybe even later, depending on when their parents are able to pick them up, then they'll naturally be hungry. Some of the schools that we work with serve their kids lunch at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then if these kids are staying in an after-school program, they might need a more substantial meal after school as opposed to just a smaller snack. So this program actually reimburses sites for suppers served. And it ensures that sites that serve the highest need kids are able to offer them something more substantial than just a snack. Sites can provide dinner to kids as well, as I said. Many parents love this aspect of the program because they know that their kids are eating healthy meals at their after-school program, and there's not as much pressure to come home from work and to scramble to put something healthy together for the kids. But the meals are totally optional, so the kids whose parents want them to sit down to a full meal at home are, of course, able to do that as well. And perhaps the kids could just eat a snack at that site. But the program also, as I mentioned earlier, requires sites to have an enrichment activity or program, meaning that the kids must have the option to do something physical or educational, which really draws the kids in and lets the parents know that their kids are in a safe, fun environment where they also have access to these healthy meals. And for the site, it's really a plus because you can use some of those programmatic dollars that you might be spending a lot of money on snacks or on something more substantial for kids who get hungry after school. You can take that money and put it towards staffing or put it towards program enhancements and really free up this money so you can focus on being able to feed the kids and having a great after-school program. Next slide. The Summer Food Service Program is administered in Colorado through the Department of Education. And like CACFP, this program reimburses meals at sites in areas where over 50% of kids are eligible for free and reduced price meals. Sites can also use census data to qualify. So areas in the state with pockets of poverty can also serve kids in those communities. So just for an example, let's say that there is a neighborhood of low-income housing, but it does not constitute 50% of a nearby school's free and reduced price lunch rate. But you know that that low-income housing rate is within a census block that is very low income. You could use that census data to therefore qualify that site so that they could be eligible to use this program. This program benefits kids at many of the same locations as CACFP, as you can imagine, such as schools, recreation centers, churches, and community-based sites. But unlike CACFP, Summer Food Program does not have a requirement for activities or programs, although they're strongly encouraged. We found that summer food sites increase participation through offering games, activities, and enrichment, and the kids are generally more interested in doing fun things throughout the summer than they are about being enticed by food that's going to be at the site. So if you say there's free meals here at the summer food program, but don't mention anything about fun activities or what else the kids are going to be doing, then the kids may not be as attracted to that. Parents and kids alike want to be at a site where, or parents want kids to be at a site where they're having fun, hopefully doing something educational, and also getting food where they're at during the summer. Next slide, please. So this is a picture from one of our summer food sites from last year. And in Colorado last year, for the whole summer, over 1.3 million meals were served to kids. And overall, Colorado had 497 sites that were serving meals across the state. And that number has more than doubled since 2000. So it's been a huge increase in the past couple of years. Next slide. So how does Hunger Free Colorado support out-of-school time meals? We provide support to sponsors and sites through dot connecting, a big part of which is our partner map, which was developed in order to show sponsors and sites where those out-of-school type programs exist. So partners are generally able to work together to talk about where their sites are, but this map is really going to help them pinpoint those locations so they can look at it and see where areas of need actually exist. So we eventually will have census data on there as well as free and reduced price lunch data, so you'll be able, so partners will be able to see where exactly sites already exist and where low-income communities are where there needs to be a site, so that they can do their own outreach and really reach out to people to try and get a site started in those neighborhoods. We will also develop and get outreach materials out to partners, parents, and kids to let them know how to access these programs. If you haven't heard of our Hunger Free Hotline, it's a bilingual hotline open from Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30, and anyone in the state can call to find out where their nearest food pantry or summer food site is. And the hotline also assists people to determine their eligibility for programs such as SNAP or other assistance programs. You can also text, so if you don't know where a summer program is near you, then you can just text the hotline with your zip code, and then they'll get back to you with a few sites that are in your area. Hunger Free also does research around best practices affecting these programs, as well as research around parent perception about the best way to get messages out about out-of-school time programs. And as I'll go into a little bit later, we know that parents really want to hear this message from trusted sources. Next slide. So our research has shown that these programs suffer from a lack of name recognition. So most parents don't know what the summer food program is or know what the CACFP Afterschool is. And so if they don't know about it, then it's really hard to access these programs or know about the availability of free meals for their kids. But we also know that parents want to learn about these messages from trusted sources, such as teachers, friends, religious leaders, and other family members. So it's different for me to go out to a group of parents and tell them about this program, or for me to do webinars or to try and get this message out. But we really rely on community members such as yourself to get this message out for us, because we know that the parents will respond a lot better to a trusted source than they would someone they don't know, especially regarding food for their kids or where they're going to send their kids after school or during the summer. So in order to make these programs more community-centered, Hunger Free has developed outreach materials that can be customizable for specific programs. So the flyers that we made last year and for this year, you can put your own logo on them, you can type in exactly where your site is, and you can make it customizable so it's got only information about your own site on there, and then we'll help by printing those and sending those to you, so that when a community member or family member sees that, they'll know exactly where that Boys and Girls Club is or where that rec center is and recognize that and feel safe, hopefully feel safe sending their kids there. Also this year, we worked with youth artists from the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Denver to create statewide branding, which is very youth-focused. And in addition to that, we also just hired 4 community connectors to raise awareness about these programs in neighborhoods where they live and are active in the community. So in the past, we've had summer food consultants who have gone out into the community to try and recruit new sites, to try and work with sponsors, and also to flyer and engage kids in helping us with this outreach. And this year we shifted that focus a little bit to actually hire people who already live in these neighborhoods. And so we're going to be working, it's a kind of a pilot year, but we'll be working with 4 of those community connectors to help get outreach out in communities where they're already active. Next slide. This is an example of our outreach materials for the summer. So the artwork was designed by a 13-year-old girl named Julia, and she was obviously very excited to see her work in full display. And we'll be using this for postcards to send out statewide through partnering organizations, as well as banners to hang on sites to make those sites more visible. We'll also be using this design for the outreach materials. So it's just a creative way of showing off where kids can go during the summer. So there are many ways for you as community members to participate. Your organization, if it's a nonprofit or a municipal or school, can act as a sponsor. You could be a site. You could help find a food vendor for a site. You could be a volunteer site monitor, which means that you would help a sponsor go out to help monitor that site. You could help coordinate volunteers at a neighborhood site for different activities, or you could raise awareness about the program in your own community. So for coordinating volunteers, especially at summer sites where activities aren't necessarily required in order to participate in the program, a lot of summer food sites really rely on volunteers that they get. And we know some programs try and recruit clowns or try and recruit tutors or try and recruit anyone who can hang out with the kids and make their summer a little more enjoyable. So we've found that volunteer coordinators that are run out of the community can be really effective in letting kids have a fun place to go during the summer. Next slide. These are a few more pictures. On the left, you'll see a few pictures from some of the summer food sites from last year. The one at the top is a program based out of Fort Morgan, and I believe that they got a fire truck to come out, have a talk from the fire department and let the kids play on the fire truck. And then down below, Pastor Jose Ito from Healing Waters, based out of, I think it's based out of Lakewood, is hanging out with some of the youth in his program, which serves over 100 kids a day. And to the right, that's Julia, who did our artwork for the summer food program. Next slide. So if you're interested in learning more about the summer food service program, the contact information for the senior consultant at the Department of Education is Ashley Mullen. And you can reach out to her about questions about starting a site, being a sponsor, or any questions about the summer food program in general. And then for CACFP, which is the after-school program, reimbursement program, you can reach out to Inka at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. Her information is on there, as well as my information on the bottom. So that just provides a general overview of these two programs. So if you have any questions, I'll hopefully be able to answer them now.
Thank you so much, Victoria. That was a lot of valuable information, and I'm really excited that you offered up some ways in which our listeners can get involved. So I'd just like to reiterate that this webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on the LiveWell Colorado website, and it will also be sent out in a follow-up email along with Victoria's contact information as well. So I encourage you to submit your questions while we have her on the phone with us. Victoria, we did get a question from Melinda. She asked, what is the hotline number again for finding sites?
That is a great question. The hotline number is, it's statewide and toll-free, 855-855-4626. We also have kidsfoodfinder.org, just kids, K-I-D-S, FOODFINDER.org. And on there you'll be able to find the summer food sites. And as the sites populate, as we get the information in, there's no sites on there right now. But I can send out a link to our partner map for anyone interested in seeing where the sites were for last year to start planning for next year. But Kids Food Finder is really more for our parents and kids who are looking for sites.
I would be happy to include that information in the follow-up email as well, so everyone would have it.
This is Leslie from LiveWell, Colorado. Victoria, can you share where the community connectors are going to be working this summer?
Yeah, so they're actually in Denver, so they're just in the Denver metro area this year. We're hoping to get more statewide, hopefully in the future. But this year we are going to be working in northeast Denver, in Montbello, in Aurora, and Westwood.
We'll wait just for a couple more minutes for any questions that you may have.
Hi, everybody. This is Noelle Melchizedek. I work with LiveWell, Colorado, and previous to working at LiveWell, Colorado, I was actually a LiveWell community coordinator in Northwest Aurora. And the reason why I'm here is just to share really quick something that helped catalyze a different type of participation in North Aurora last year. A nonprofit basically issued a challenge to the neighborhood out to all of their partners and their networks to feed 1,000 kids a day. And that sounds like a whole lot, but when sites are feeding 100 kids a day, the goal is to get 10 sites on board. And that the meeting that we had really was interesting. It had partners from nonprofits, churches, after-school programs, the school district, Hunger Free Colorado, obviously, just a bunch of different folks who are all serving kids along the Colfax corridor. So thinking about interesting ways to catalyze interest, and I think having that goal really inspired folks. And then at the same time, another one of their goals was to include physical activity at each of the summer sites. And the site that took that on had volunteers in their own organization to do that, but also needed assistance, and then those nonprofits pulled resources to actually get equipment like hula hoops or basketballs or whatever to have some type of programming available. So just a little bit of a concrete example of how that happened last year in Aurora.
Thanks, Noelle. Victoria, we got another question for you. For summer program, does one have to have 50% FRP?
So for a summer food site to qualify in an area, you have to be either in a school area where 50% of those kids are eligible for free and reduced price lunch, or you can use census data. And sites can also use housing data, just any data that indicates the general need in that community. So for after-school programs, you can only use free and reduced price lunch, but for summer, you can use other data, other sources of data.
Okay, great. I hope that answers your question, Chris. Last call for any questions. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us today. Oh,
yeah,
we got one more.
Okay.
Sorry, is 18 the age cap?
18 is the age cap.
For summer?
For both programs, yeah.
For both. Okay.
And this is Leslie. Are parents able to eat at the summer meal sites?
Yeah, they are. The sites, parents can definitely eat at the summer meal site as well as the after-school program, but those sites won't be reimbursed for meals served. So we know some of our programs who have just eaten the cost of serving meals to adults just because it's nice for the adults to be able to eat meals with their kids during the summer after school, but they won't be able to, the sites won't be able to be reimbursed. But the parents can still definitely eat. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, and then we actually have another one that just came in from Dana. Where can we find the marketing materials that we can customize, and who do we contact to do this?
So you'll be contacting me, and we will be putting them on our website, and I will be sending out an email when those materials are up on our website. It will probably be closer to the end of April. And if you want, we have an e-newsletter that gives out more information about our outreach materials and how to access them. So if you're interested in signing up for the e-newsletter or interested in the outreach materials, then you can email me at victoria@hungerfreecolorado.org.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dana, for your question. Okay, I think that's it for everyone. So thank you so much again, Victoria. And just a reminder that this webinar will be sent out tomorrow with all of these other great resources that we've mentioned in the Q&A portion. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Great.
Bye-bye.